Welcome back to Coffee Unlimited with J and D. I'm here with my co-host Janelle. We are so excited to be talking to you about a topic that's personal to us, mental health, what it is, and the role of leadership specific to mental health. But before we get started on that, I'd just love to hear from you, Janelle, about what's top of mind for you, what's important for you right now in your life.
Mm. Oh, thank you. Well, as you know, I just got back from Disneyland. My daughter turned 13, and I ended up surprising her and my son with a really quick trip to Disneyland, just 2 days. And now that we're back, so while we were there, I always have a rule that when I'm at Disneyland, all the snacks are on the table. Like I can eat whatever I want. I actually, I have a Fitbit now, so I can track how many steps I take. And on the first day, we didn't get to the park until maybe 1:30 in the afternoon, and it closed at 8. So it was a little bit of a shorter day for Disney standards. And we had like 27,000 steps in the day.
Wow.
So I'm kind of amazed at how much exercise and movement we got in a short amount of time. And and then the next day, again, we started early, but we left early because I had a flight the next day. But now that we're back, I'm getting back into the sort of detox of my food, my stomach mode, and working out again. So I went to a bar class this morning. And as you know, on my way home from bar, I always treat myself to McDonald's,
I love
which
it.
so many people would probably think that is so counterintuitive. Why would you do something so great for your body and then stuff it full of bad stuff? But, to each their own. I I think it's okay, and I love McDonald's, and I got myself a cold brew from McDonald's, which I really like. So that's what I'm drinking today, and I feel strong. I feel good. So thanks for asking.
That's amazing. I mean, I love McDonald's too. I love filet o fish. I wish they would start serving their lunch menu earlier,
Yes.
but I
There's
did.
nothing worse than arriving there at, the drive-through at like 9:30
Yeah.
thinking you're gonna get a fillet of fish or a cheeseburger, and you pull up and it's just the breakfast menu. And
Yeah.
it's so funny because so many other restaurants, drive-through places, fast food offer, breakfast all day, and they have a
Hmm.
lunch menu all day as well. So I'm surprised that McDonald's doesn't do that. But I am always a bit disappointed because I don't like the breakfast menu as much.
We did just go to McDonald's a couple weeks ago when I was picking her up from Stagecoach,
Yeah.
and we went to McDonald's, and I was like, where is the filet o fish? But then, so I forced myself to try their breakfast menu, and it was actually really good. I had
Ooh, what
like
did you have that you liked?
a biscuit with egg and ham, I think, or bacon.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
Blanca got this one where it was two pancakes, like maple pancakes with a chicken cutlet. Like,
What?
I know, I'm like, this is so good. So
Wow.
now I'm actually okay with them not having their lunch menu because I
Wow.
did try breakfast and I was like, this is not
Oh,
bad.
well, that's good to know. Maybe I'll have to check that out. The pancake thing sounds really good.
Yes, that was
Um,
so good.
because I like sweet and savory together. So like a maple syrup
Oh,
with meat is so good to me. But you know what I saw on the menu for lunch that I hadn't seen before is, they have wraps, right? And I think their chicken wrap has been around for a long time, but they had a fish wrap that was basically filet of fish in the wrap. I almost got it. I almost got it, but I ended up getting a grilled chicken wrap, and it was really good.
oh my gosh. Okay. Well, more items to discover at McDonald's. I love it.
Sounds good.
Before we get into our topic, though, just I was so curious when I knew you were going to Disneyland and you were
Hmm.
surprising Sophia. Did you
Hmm.
tell her the night before or the morning of, or like how did that?
Okay.
I want to hear the
This is
surprise.
how it played out. So, first of all, for all of our kids, whenever they have a birthday in the middle of a week, like a weekday, we let them stay home from school that day. And that's been this way forever. So we always let our kids stay home on their birthday. We also start their birthday with cake. So breakfast is actually their birthday cake, and we sing happy birthday in the morning. So what I did was, her birthday was Wednesday. I got a Minnie Mouse cake on Tuesday, and I had it stored so that she couldn't see it. And then on Wednesday morning, when I brought her cake out, it was a Minnie Mouse cake. And I don't think she necessarily thought anything of it at first because we love Disneyland, and she's always had this Minnie Mouse plushie since she was maybe a year and a half old. So, Minnie is kind of her thing. It kind of signifies her. And so we put the candles on, we sang happy birthday. And as we were sitting there, I said, so there's a reason why you have a Minnie Mouse cake today. And then all the kids are looking at me like, what is it? Why? And I said, because we're going to Disneyland. And then they go, seriously, what? Serious? Are you serious? And I
Oh
said,
my
yep.
gosh.
And I didn't schedule us to leave that day. So we ended up leaving early Thursday morning. We had maybe an 8:15 a.m. flight on Thursday.
Hmm.
And that's mostly because, but I knew we would have the morning, and Sophia was looking forward to staying home during her birthday. So I didn't want to disrupt kind of that plan. And also we could get an 8:15 a.m. flight on and make it, if we did it Wednesday, it would have been more like an 11 something flight, if we waited till after the morning routine
Hmm.
of birthday morning. So we left Thursday morning. We arrived back in Vancouver at midnight on Friday. So it was a really
Oh
fast
my
trip,
gosh.
but
Fun.
we got everything in and we had so much fun. So it was really great
Well, I
and
feel like you just
not very busy there.
really, I
Yeah.
feel like you just raised the bar on motherhood, which is the exact opposite of what we're trying to do, Janelle.
I know. We want to lower the bar. Just it's about choosing your moments. Like go big on
Yeah.
just a handful of days of the year. And the rest of the time, low standards.
Low.
Very,
Okay, I
very
love
low
it. So
standards.
no roast on Tuesdays.
No home cooked meals. McDonald's every day.
Exactly. McDonald's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, kids.
What's so funny is I actually brought, because the kids don't have school today, I actually brought McDonald's wraps home for them.
I
And
love
one
it.
of the kids, I won't say which one, I won't name them, but they responded with, nah, no, it's okay. And I was like, what? And I said, you're going to eat this. Like I'm forcing my kids to eat McDonald's. I was like, no, I got this for you. Don't be ungrateful. You're going to eat this right now. I want you to eat it. And there's fries that go with it.
Finish those fries.
Finish it. I don't want to see any leftovers.
I love it. Okay, good. We're back. We're
Mhm.
back on. I feel like we're
Okay.
back on track
Yes.
with our standards of motherhood. All right. Well, mental health. It's
Yeah, May
May.
is Mental Health Awareness Month, correct?
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
thinking about this so
Mm.
much.
Thankfully, it's a topic that is more openly discussed. I would say in the last 5 or so years, I've seen so much more conversation about mental well-being and mental health, mental illness. You and I have worked together in a couple different workplaces, and both of our workplaces, there was a lot done around holding conversation and
Hmm.
having town halls about mental health. And I feel really grateful about that because it's become an easier topic to discuss with coworkers or friends and my family as well. Like my kids and I have very open discussions about our mental health. And I don't know that that was the case for many workplaces or families, 10 plus years ago. So the fact that we have Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think that in October, there's additional days that are focused around mental health as well. So thankfully, it's much more talked about. And at the same time, you and I wanted to today talk about the role that leaders play because it's one thing as an employee to try to prioritize your mental health and to be asking for what you need. But there's a whole other side of a role that a leader plays because a
Hmm.
leader has a responsibility. When you lead others and you take on a leadership role, you accept a leadership role in an organization, you are accepting responsibility. And I believe one of those responsibilities is to ensure that your team is well. And not just because it's good for your business, like you absolutely will have better team results if your team is healthy in many different aspects. Like you have diversity on your team, they're thriving, ideas are flowing. But if people are actually physically and mentally well, and they're not missing as many days because of illness, your team will perform better. So there is a bottom line reason to make sure your team is well. But I think from a humanity standpoint, a leader has a responsibility to just care for their team in more ways than maybe traditionally what we would have discussed again 20 plus years ago. So there is a role. I think there is a role that leaders play. And I don't know that every leader is necessarily comfortable or equipped to play that role, but they should. And so I think organizations have a responsibility to train their leaders. We as society have a responsibility to hold expectations of leaders. And I think you and I, with our experience, we can discuss like what we've seen works really well in an organization, how leaders can play a positive impact on the mental health of their team members, as well as maintaining their own mental health. Because I think that's also part of the responsibility is make sure that you care for yourself and you set a good example about how to balance your own well-being with business results, getting business results. Yeah.
Right. I appreciate you bringing up the organizations we work for too. And I remember the most recent one when you brought in the mental health continuum. So
Yes.
I remember coming into Van City and there was this tool for leaders to just share. And it was such an accessible tool where we could really talk about mental health in a way that was not, it wasn't like a big deal. It was like, how are you feeling today? Oh, I have a little sore throat. I didn't sleep so well, right? Like just how we would talk about our physical health.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful tool to have that access point into a conversation around mental health. And so with that mental health continuum, maybe I should just talk about it for a moment for people who don't know what it is, but right, it was this spectrum. And I think it was like green and then like yellow, orange, and red. And
Yep.
green, and there were different definitions or qualities that you experience in like that green zone, which was you were pretty healthy, and then in the red, where it's like, okay, let's pause and do something about this immediately.
Yes.
So having that continuum and bringing that, so I would actually bring that into my weekly team meetings, and we would start our team meetings like that, which I know many of the other leaders did too. And for me, it was starting like with my own vulnerability. I knew as a leader, if I was like, I'm in the green, everybody. Yeah. Good vibes only over here. I have
Positive
my
vibes.
morning pages and my matcha. If I came in like that, I
Yes.
would not create space for any sort of honest dialogue. So
However, if you came in with your McDonald's cold brew,
exactly.
disheveled hair,
Yes, I
no
often
makeup,
had the
and just been
disheveled
like, I
hair.
had a night.
Exactly. Yeah, usually I would have my venti Americanos from Starbucks. And,
Yep.
yeah, and I would usually kind of be around that yellow, right?
Yep.
And I would also say what was occurring in my life, like
Hmm.
what was impacting me, to the extent of transparency that a leader can share,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. And
But that helped.
I think the
Yeah.
reason why that mental health continuum tool which was a visual tool with descriptions. Why it worked so well at Van City was that every single people manager went through an all-day training.
Mm.
We had our own in-house certified facilitators. They went through a process of certification because Canada, like the Minister of Health, they offered this. You could have their own trainers come in and offer an all-day training for your employees around mental health, mental well-being, what it is, what are the different types of mental illness. So you learned about like the science behind mental illness and how it shows up, and then how to support in the workplace. So it was very workplace specific. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're lucky in Canada that that is a resource available. So we had our own employees certified, and then they would facilitate. So every single people manager went through it, which provided the tool and the common language around it. And that's what the tool provides is language to use. I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
these emotions. I'm feeling this right now. This is how it's showing up for me. And the reason why it's every people manager went through it is because of that responsibility that managers have. So they have to create an inclusive space where people can talk about their mental well-being. And so, like you said, many leaders had that tool physically printed and laminated, or you pull it up on Teams, on the screen if you're having a virtual meeting. And we intentionally had conversations about it in a team setting, so that it destigmatized the conversation. And of course, you could talk about it one-on-one with your manager if that's what you preferred. But the more people expressed how they were feeling publicly, by public, I mean in a team setting. And ideally, these are your team members that you're pretty close with at this point. So you've built trust over time and you have a relationship with them. We wouldn't necessarily ask people to disclose how they're feeling and what they're going through in a group setting where they don't know everybody, like a town hall meeting. That's not the place for it. But in a team
Mm-hmm.
environment, if you've built team relationships, ideally, those are the people that you can be vulnerable with. And it's, I think, pretty very cathartic to be able to express how you're feeling, to actually say it out loud, and to have people accept you for where you are. And yeah, so sometimes people were in the orange and red, and it could be a variety of circumstances why they're feeling that way. And as a manager, if you see that someone needs immediate help, that training went through a variety of ways of how you could help
Mm-hmm.
them in the moment, or at least that day. And I think one of the important things to note is, as a people manager, no organization should require you, or is requiring you, hopefully is requiring, but should definitely not be requiring you to be a therapist. Like, it's not
Mm-hmm.
your job to be a counselor, therapist, or clinical psychologist. That is not the point. It's simply about equipping you with the empathetic skills to recognize when someone might need help. The continuum tool created the conversation. It created a conversation starter, but many organizations don't have that. So you have to see the other signs. If someone's work is slipping and that's not like them,
Mm-hmm.
if someone is behaving differently in a team setting or in a one-on-one, there are typically signs that someone is struggling. And so the important thing for a manager to do is to not um, brush those signs aside,
Mm-hmm.
to actually create space to address the signs and to ask what is going on with someone. And then if they do need help, then your job is to know where to send them. That is
Yeah.
what is important. You know the numbers to EAP if your organization has employee assistance program that has counselors available 24/7, or you know the extension or number of your HR business partner that can then provide, get you to where you need to go, or the resources to go if someone needs to go on a short-term leave
Mm-hmm.
to take care of their mental well-being. There's a whole process to do that so that you can be supported and ensure that your job is secured for you, and that you get some government assistance while you're on leave. There are all of these things in place that a lot of employees don't know about, and nor do they need to? That's what HR business partners are for. They are the experts in the resources. Your manager, it's a good way to train yourself up on these kinds of resources. That's a good use of your time as a people manager, is to learn about the resources so that you can be the point of contact that your employee goes to get help. And like I said, in that moment, if someone is struggling, you really shouldn't try to be a clinical psychologist, because you're not equipped to do that. But you are the person safely handing them over to someone who is equipped to help them. And that is one aspect of a role of a leader. But, I bring all that up because we were talking about the continuum, and the continuum was really helpful because it created a reason to talk about it. It created a starting point to start a meeting and say, hey, let's pull out the mental health continuum and check in with everybody. How is everyone feeling today? Because mental health really is about how you're feeling in that given moment. It can fluctuate just like your physical health. Some days you feel really strong and well, and some days you don't. And mentally, some days you feel really strong and you're thriving, and some days you don't. And at any given point, it's about honoring where you're at in that moment and in that day. So, maybe today it's May right now. So maybe today someone pulls out the continuum and asks, and everyone, gives their responses. And in July, you can ask the exact same question. How is everyone doing? Let's pull out the continuum. You have the exact same team members, and you can get a wide variety of responses. You can get drastically different because maybe work has been really stressful. Maybe there's project deadlines in July that weren't there in May. Maybe there's, back to school looming around the corner, and you've got parents that have kids that are going to be going off to college, or maybe they're going into kindergarten for the first time. And that's creating a whole different level of stress and preparation required. And it's taking a toll. So mental health can change and fluctuate. And as a leader, you need to honor that and recognize that and accept that some days your team members, they're given 100% and it looks like this. And then, the next week, their 100% looks different because they don't have the fuel in the tank to do what they did 2 weeks before. So it can look different, but when their 100% is looking less and less, that's a red flag. And that's your cue to ask them what's going on in their life and what might they need. Yeah.
I know. I appreciate you sharing all of that, and especially around, like, you're not a therapist. That is not the job of a leader. It's you're
No.
safely guiding them towards resources. One of the things it makes me think about is how important regular one-on-ones are, and how it really is that space. Even if you feel like, oh, okay, maybe they don't have any agenda items, we just connected last week, whatever. But to have that time that's already dedicated for you to listen, because there's so many employees who will, I think, be fearful, or they might not even recognize signs of mental health at that time. Right? They just might have a lot on their plate. And you, as a leader, creating that weekly or biweekly one-on-one for them gives them an opportunity to just share what's going on in their lives. And if you do have a leader who has a more coach-like approach, bringing in curiosity, and even if they're not saying, hey, I'm struggling right now, as a leader, we can listen and recognize what's on their plate at work, what's on their plate at home, like all of the changes that you were just mentioning right now, of being a parent too. And then ask, like, how are you doing through all of this? I just want to recognize you're holding a lot. You've got these projects, you have all this going on at work. In fact, that happened to me with one of my direct reports several years ago, where they were just going through so much, but they were like, oh, I just need to get through this month. I'm like, okay, how can we get through this month with more ease together?
Ease.
And so we
Yeah.
looked at the workload, and then we did look at taking some time off. I did direct them to HR too. I said, okay, we've got some benefits here. So let's talk to our business partner and see what we can do so that you don't need to struggle through and have this mindset of I just need to get through this month.
Power through it and just survive. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
No one should try to just survive through a really challenging time, like a full time. I love that. I love that you bring up one-on-ones. Now that I think about it, as a leader, so there's, various leaders have different approaches to their one-on-ones, which is fine. I think it's great to have different styles of how you conduct your one-on-ones. And what I would say is typically, I would say how a leader holds their one-on-ones reflects what they're most comfortable with. So
Mm.
if a leader is by nature operational, like they were a go-getter as an individual contributor, and they would just like, they appreciated getting direction and then just doing it, then that's how they lead. So they will approach their one-on-ones with their direct reports with, give me your list of what you're working on and let's go through everything. And
I think you and I both can safely say we are not
that's not
those
us.
leaders.
That is the opposite. No, we are not those operators. We're more like, how you feeling? No. So what I would say is, if that's your style, then likely if all of your employees, direct reports are operators themselves, and that's really comfortable for them, and that's probably how they like to have their one-on-ones. And likely you have team members that's not their style. Like they actually need that time to connect with you as a human, so that they feel seen and they feel heard. And this is their time to ask for what they need, because they don't want to send an email asking for what they need. They really need to be able to feel like they've connected with you and that there's a right time to say what they need to say. And so if you never create the space for that to happen, then you're really doing a disservice to your team members. And so, like you said, I was the complete opposite, and I probably could have focused more on the let's go through your list, because I always wanted to treat one-on-ones as let's not talk about work at all. And if you have work questions, just ask me anytime throughout the day. Like send me a message and I'll get on a call with you, or I'll help you with something. But our one-on-ones are our time to connect and see how you're doing on a personal level. And
I just love that. I just want to like take a
well,
moment
because
and be
you're
like,
like me, like that was easy for you. Whereas and some employees that probably was great for them too. And then some probably were like, no, I don't really want to get all touchy feely. I just want to like go through my list and tell you what I'm doing so that you know what I'm doing, and then ask you for things. So I probably could have balanced it a bit more. But that being said, I had a lot of employees that opened up about what they were going through because I created the space for it. So I have a lot of employees that I believe feel that they were really cared for and could ask for what they needed and had really good work-life balance because we were in it together and we were figuring that out together. And that's because I created the space for it. So as a leader, I think, what is your version of creating both space for connection and honest conversation about how we're doing as humans, and space for, okay, what projects are we working on, or what deadlines do we have, and how as a leader can I support you, or block down the field, to use a sports metaphor. Like what do I need to do, what blocks do you need so that you can just get your work done, who do I need to talk to, and that kind of thing. So make sure that you create space for both. And if you're not comfortable with the touchy-feely, then you might want to reconsider being a manager.
I was like,
I,
where are you going to go with this?
I honestly think that as a manager, you have to, like, there's this day and age with what we expect of people managers and of the workplace. Like the workplace is not just a place of like transactional business results.
Right.
We're humans, and it's a community, and we have to care for each other, and we have to care about what's going on in someone's life. And I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good evolution of the workplace. And a people manager has a really big responsibility in creating safe and inclusive spaces and creating connection and dealing with and managing through employees' various life emotions and life challenges and work challenges and team dynamics and all that. And that requires being comfortable with touchy-feely and emotions. So if that's not you, then maybe you should look for a high level individual contributor role where you can
Mhm.
operate and you can just, get your work done. And there's nothing wrong with that. And ideally, most organizations have a career path that allows that as well, that you can continue moving up, quote unquote, up,
Yeah.
higher salary, higher responsibility, but still be an individual contributor.
I know. I feel like that's such a good topic for another
Hmm.
conversation around that career path because so many managers become managers or so many employees become leaders because that's the only path to
Yeah.
promotion or moving up in an
Yes,
organization.
unfortunately. And that is
Yeah.
a reality for some organizations.
Yeah.
And hopefully, HR teams, compensation teams, HR business partners recognize that that's not an effective model. You need to have both career paths, and you need to design an org structure that allows for both.
Mm,
Otherwise, you lose people, and you get people in the wrong roles.
yeah,
But you either get
absolutely.
get leaders that are not in the right role and that they shouldn't be leading teams because that's not in their strengths, or you get people who have hit the ceiling of where they can go from an individual contributor perspective, and they'll go elsewhere so that they can continue
Mm-hmm.
to grow as an individual contributor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know we're probably getting close to time. Danielle, I'm curious, what are some things that you do to maintain your mental well-being personally?
Mm. Something that I've been doing recently is not having any stimulating conversations after dinner.
Ooh.
So I'll have people reach out to me like, hey, can you get on a call? And it's like, no, my daytime hours, even just between friends,
Hmm.
is going to be, or my availability is going to be during the day, like when
Yeah.
the sun is out.
Yes.
Because I prioritize sleep.
Mm.
Like that is my most important thing that I can do for my mental and physical well-being every single day is
Wow.
sleep well. So I will design my entire day around getting a good night's sleep. So if somebody wants to talk to me after dinner, I'm not available. I just won't even respond to
Oh.
them too.
That's incredible, Danielle. I think that most health professionals, most flow experts, productivity experts would all say that that's the key. Like if everyone designed their life around getting quality sleep, then across the board, happiness, health, longevity, everything in life gets better. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you have actually done it, and I'm sure not every day is perfect for you, but it's a focus for you, is making
Oh,
sure that you prioritize your
totally.
sleep. I'm sure that that has countless benefits for you in so many different areas of your life.
Oh, yeah. It's been amazing. I mean, my sleep has been incredible these last few weeks. It
Mm-hmm.
was terrible in Toronto when I was visiting Blanca because she
Okay.
wanted to have dinner at 9 p.m.
Yes,
and hang out with friends after.
as
I'm like,
college students do.
I was like, no, I need dinner at 5. Like,
Love
and
that.
then I need to start winding down at 7,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So I can get up really early.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that, and just in terms of the stimulating conversations, that's like
Mm-hmm.
even just with a friend, like even with you and me, I would not
Hmm.
call you at 8
Hmm.
p.m. and be like, how was your trip to Disneyland? Because that would
Hmm.
stimulate me, would excite me. It's like it would get me thinking about Disneyland and thinking about motherhood. So that's what I mean by
Wow.
stimulating. It's
Yes.
like it's really about, winding down time.
Amazing. I'm going to try that. And, Carl's been saying that he's not getting good sleep and he really wants to get better sleep. He knows he'll feel better throughout the day. So maybe we'll try that. We'll really think about what is our cutoff time for, and obviously no work emails and stuff like that. But, what other things are we doing, activities are we doing that is turning us on, turning our
Mm-hmm.
minds on, turning our hearts on, that is like getting us going, that could be impacting us and preventing us from getting to sleep at a decent hour. I really, really like that. That's great.
What about
Um,
you? What are you, what's one thing
yeah.
that you're doing?
So I boil it down to focusing on saying no more. So saying no to activities just in general, like not filling my days with too much. And you and I both have the benefit, we're not working in corporate right now, that kind of corporate can have its own schedule. And depending on what role you have, you might have more or less flexibility with your schedule. But I would say, even in a corporate environment, people have some control over their schedule and
Mm-hmm.
how packed their days are. Because I noticed that if my days were filled with back-to-back meetings, which is so common in a corporate environment, but if my days were filled with back-to-back meetings, I was typically unhappy. No matter, even if the meetings were topics that I really enjoyed and liked, because most of the time they were, it's just the actual physical busyness of that and have the mental gymnastics that's required to go from meeting to meeting to meeting, be on, have, share your ideas, process other people's ideas, be there as a leader for your team. Like, it's just a lot. And then, you're thinking about other things too, and trying to schedule orthodontist appointments for your kids and things like that. So I, I was really saying no to meetings when I was in the workplace, or saying, I can't do that time, and we'll have to do another time, so that I could create space in my day, and have more balance. Because for me, my day has to have some ebbs and flows
Mm-hmm.
of activity. I can't be full on and maintain that for multiple days. Otherwise, my sleep goes down, my happiness goes down. I feel that I'm scatterbrained, which I don't like that feeling. I really don't like the feeling of like I'm forgetting something, or I didn't follow up with someone, or I was late to register my kids for something. So to avoid that, I create space in my day so that I can do what I need to do throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I
that's
love
how
that.
I've prioritized mental well-being, is just really trying to own my schedule, own my
Mm-hmm.
calendar, and be really thoughtful about how busy I am.
I mean, I don't think anyone can operate like that.
Mm-mm.
Back to
Not
back meetings
well.
consistently. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, not
Something
well.
is going to
And
give. Something, there
yeah.
is going to be some downside, some circumstance where something's going to give. Your physical health, your mental health, or, just like quality time with
Mm-hmm.
people is going to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for a great
Yeah,
conversation,
thanks,
Janelle.
Danielle. I'm so glad we got to talk about this topic today, with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, and you and I both being people leaders, and having also being responsible for supporting other leaders and in their journey of being a people leader. So glad we got to share all of that. I'm glad that people tuned in to listen. So if you did listen, I hope that you subscribe to our podcast so that you can know when our next one is coming out. Feel free to leave a comment. If you have any questions that you want us to talk through or address, please submit those. But make sure you subscribe. If you want to chat with us on Instagram, we're both on Instagram, and you can message us there as well. Otherwise, we will see you next week on Coffee Unlimited with J&D.